Okay, good evening. My name is Jim Cheney, and I'm an attorney with the Lane Council of Governments, LCOG in Eugene. And LCOG has entered into a contract with the city of Salem for me to serve as the hearings official for tonight for this hearing. So for the record, it's 5:30 p.m. on, this is April 22nd. Pardon?
24th.
24th. April 24th, 2024, and we're met in room 305 at the Salem Civic Center at 555 Liberty Street, Southeast in Salem, Oregon. So today's hearing involves an application for a conditional use permit, Class 3 site plan review, and Class 2 adjustment for a residential care facility. The order of today's proceeding will be a staff report that will be presented by city staff, followed by the applicant's presentation, which will limit to 15 minutes, a neighborhood report, which will limit to 10 minutes, and then we'll go to public testimony if anyone is appearing for that. If anyone present is going to testify, we're going to ask you at that time to state your name and address so the mic picks it up for the record. The public testimony will be heard in the following order. First, we'll start with testimony in favor of the application. Second, we'll have testimony that is neither in opposition or in favor of the application. That's for evidentiary purposes. Third, testimony that would be in opposition. And then the applicant will be allowed 5 minutes to rebut any testimony that's made in opposition. The applicant bears the burden of proof to show that the approval criteria can be satisfied by the facts, and any opponent may rebut that the permit by offering alternative facts or by showing that the evidence submitted does not satisfy the approval criteria. This hearing is not a place to ask questions of staff, the applicant, or the hearings officer, but it's an opportunity to provide the hearings officer with evidence on the merits of the case. Any person may request an opportunity to present additional evidence or testimony regarding the application and following the hearing, and the hearings officer will make a ruling as to whether to continue the public hearing or whether to leave the record open for an additional period to receive written testimony or evidence. At the end of the hearing, at this point, I will open the public hearing for case number CU SPR ADJ 24-02. And I will direct everyone's attention to the criteria that were given in the notice. This public hearing will be devoted to those criteria because those are the only things that are relevant to the decision that I must make. So for a conditional use, Salem Code section 240.005D says that an application for a conditional use permit will be granted if all the criteria stated in that section are met. And those are that the code allows the conditional use in the zone, that the adverse impact in the neighborhood can be minimized, and third, that the development will be reasonably compatible with and have minimum impact on the livability and development of the surrounding property. So we'll now open with the staff report.
Share my screen. Good evening. My name is Olivia Diaz. I'm the current planning manager. I'm here to present the case CU SPR ADJ 2402 for property located at 325 Lancaster Street. I would like to enter this presentation, the staff report, the supplemental staff report, and then there's a testimony received from the neighborhood association into the record. So we're here to discuss a conditional use permit for a residential care facility, the site plan review for the site development, which includes the parking and private street improvements, and then an adjustment for reduction of perimeter landscaping and plant units along some of the property lines. The subject property is located off of Lancaster Drive Southeast, just at the intersection of 37th and Lancaster. The subject property does have a private street that runs through it that's called Cinema Way. So you can see the vicinity map shows the subject property, the Cinema Way. To the south is the CarMax facility, a movie theater, and then to the east is Roberts High School. There is a residential neighborhood to the north that's outside of the city limits, but is zoned residential. There's some aerial photos some street view photos looking at the private drive. There's a tavern on your right-hand side that's a little notch in the subject property. And the tavern, and then the property is to the right of where the for sale sign is. This is there's a driveway here and a driveway off of Cinema Way serving the property. This is Cinema Way looking east back towards Lancaster. The subject property is zoned CG, general commercial, and the comp plan is commercial of the subject property. As you can see, the property is surrounded by mostly CG, and then the white area is outside of the city limits. So the conditional use permit is addressed in your staff report. The proposed use is a conditional use permit in the zone. The findings for reasonably likely to address adverse impacts is also addressed in your staff report. The applicant has proposed mitigation from landscaping and setbacks for the use against the residential property to help address these concerns. So we have the site plan shown on the site. The proposal is developing a much smaller area than the entirety of the property due to wetlands and other development constraints. This is a blown up version of the proposed site plan. You can see the parking area to the east, and then the building, and then their stormwater facility to the west. So for the site plan review, there were several conditions of approval that were addressed in the staff report related to, locations of trees, items that are meant to address the development standards and the code. There was a supplemental report addressing trash enclosure. In your staff report, there's this parking lot in the circled in the red that there's a condition of approval to add a Jersey barrier to block the driveway connecting to the site at the tavern, which was never permitted. So that existing development was never a permitted use, and to alleviate the violation, a Jersey barrier enclosing of the driveway is proposed as a condition. Which are shown in yellow. And then as part of the site plan review, there's a condition of approval related to the trash enclosure. The supplemental report provided for either relocating the trash enclosure or obtaining a revocable license through our public works engineer, since it's located within an easement. The easement is shown in blue on your screen. There's also some trees that are located in that proposed trees that are located in that easement, which have been conditioned to be relocated to ensure that they meet the plant units and the adjustment criterion, but are to get them out of the easement to prevent conflict into the sewer main. So the revised conditions of approval that were in the supplemental report were to address the revocable license for the encroachment of the trash enclosure, to address some of the applicant's concerns around timing for issuance of building permits and access agreements, and then also provide an alternative sign option for the stormwater facility to be located on site instead of on the CarMax property. We only received one comment from Marion County. Marion County did comment that the driveway approach on Lancaster would need to be closed, and the access from Cinema Way would be the only access. And then we received a comment that was entered the record late from the Southeast Salem Neighborhood Association in support of the application. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit as outlined in both staff reports. I'm available for any questions if you have any.
Let's see, the other question I have is I saw the stormwater, so that the stormwater that was on the plan facility, that would be the alternative stormwater facility.
Now I can show you.
Because otherwise it's going to be discharged off-site.
Well, so that the stormwater facility that you're seeing on, that the green stormwater facility is designed for their site. But what we're discussing is that there is an outfall
Oh,
right here that's off-site. And so there is the possibility that they could redesign because the rest of the Cinema Way is on their property. So there's two options there. The alternative is to outfall here or come up with some other alternative on site. But this stormwater facility is required per code for green stormwater.
okay.
You're welcome.
So that completes the staff
That
report.
completes the staff report.
So today, do we have people who sign up for to give testimony? Oh, we do.
Applicant first.
Okay, oh, that's right. Sorry about that. No, go right ahead, applicant, it's your turn.
I do have it. However you want to do it. We sent you a chair over there if you want. So you should be able to just tap it. Yep.
Hi, my name is Hillary Harris. I'm the applicant's representative. And that's I work at Gardens.
What's your address? Your business
Oh,
address?
yeah, 205 Southeast Spokane Street, Suite 200. Portland. So first, a little bit about Oregon Community for Solutions. They partner with state and local governments to solve community problems throughout the state of Oregon. So specifically, they're committed to addressing Oregon's behavioral health crisis by building psychiatric treatment infrastructure. And a big part of this is building more secure residential treatment facilities that provide a safe alternative to Oregon State Hospital. So that's what this facility is. So the project location is at 325 Lancaster Drive Southeast. You've already seen these, so I don't need to go too into them, but there's commercial to the south and east of the site and Roberts High School to the west, and then county residential zoning to the north. So this is a map of the existing easements and the wetlands on the project site. So the private drive is to the south, it has an access easement over it. Then the other red portions are either access easements or public utility easements. And then the wetlands are shown in green up there. So as you can see, it's quite restricted building areas. And so the proposed development is going to be 11,000 square feet of building area. There'll be 16 beds in the facility, and there'll be a parking lot with 23 parking spaces and right-of-way dedication and improvements on Lancaster Drive, as well as improvements on the private street and utility connections. And then this is a blown up version, and then this is how it's located on the site as well. So then the approval criteria for site plan review is that the application meets all applicable standards of the code and with setbacks, building heights, etc. And the application materials we submitted are demonstrating that we are meeting them with the proposed design, or they can be conditioned to meet. Then conditional use, it is a conditional use in table 523-1 for this CG zone, as it's listed. And then The construction of the residential care facility will have minimal impacts to the existing uses and surrounding properties. And we're providing additional buffer of landscaping around the outside of the sites, and then the general development patterns of the area are quite a bit of mix of uses and of zones that the residential care facility could easily be cohesively incorporated into. Public notice did go out. We didn't receive any comments, I don't think, during that time. But then again, we did receive a letter, I think just today, from the neighborhood association. Support of the developments. And then the last review type is an adjustment that we're requesting to perimeter setback landscaping and plant units. Because the site is so large and we're only proposing development on about 1.6 acres of the 5.5 acre site, I believe. We're only providing landscaping that will meet the standards in that 1.6 acres, and then the rest, when it is developed, if it is, will demonstrate compliance with the landscape standards. And then yes, these two approval criteria don't apply, or no, sorry, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, we're not in a residential zone. And then I think there will be comments on some of the conditions of approval, but not this. Any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Thank you.
But we want to introduce Bryce.
Oh, yeah. So Bryce is here who works at Oregon Community First Solutions, who's going to be talking about.
Can you?
Oh,
that-
No, no, it's
That's fine.
this one.
That's perfect. Yeah. Good evening, just making the drive, and my name is Bryce Peterson. I am one of the co-owners of Community First Solutions, the entity for which is doing development, facilitating it. My address is 11090 Allen Way, Turner, Oregon, 97392. So before I even dive in, just wanted to express my broad gratitude. Thank you guys for all of your continued support for us and willingness to work with us on quite an interesting piece of property. So thank you guys for sticking with us through that. Today I want to speak specifically to condition number 3, which is the installation of Jersey barriers. And the way that the condition is currently written, the Jersey barriers must be installed at time of permitting. We are seeking an amendment to that, or a change rather, to say that the Jersey barriers would be installed at that time of a completion of the project, or basically certificate of occupancy. And it comes kind of in a sort of interesting dynamic we're juggling, and I want to bring that to your attention today. In a typical development scenario, we would really have partitioned off this piece of property and sold it. Frankly, it's sort of an awkward and unusable piece of property on our development, but because we're using state grants for this project, we are having to adhere to a 20-year deed restrictive covenant on the property, which makes it very cumbersome to sell or partition land because the state has their fingers in it. And so frankly, just as a result, it's a pretty significant impact on the Silver Dollar Tavern, who is the owner of that facility and has had an existing easement through our property to park there for quite a significant time. Tracy's with us today. Tracy is the owner of that tavern, and I'll let her share some historical context. But I just wanted to put before you today that it is our desire to comply with the city. We understand the need to bring that in compliance. That is also our desire. We're just asking for a little bit of extension of time, just so we can come through with some alternative solutions and work towards that same goal. But with that, I think, Tracy, if you don't mind sharing a few words about the history, that would be super helpful.
Sure. My name is Tracy Story.
Okay, so, oh, should bring up it.
Bring it up.
That test, that probably test.
So sorry.
No
It's
problem.
still the applicant.
Yeah, sorry. So that concludes my comments about it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe Michael, if you want to say a few words. Michael's the co-owner as well. Community First Solutions.
Oh, sure, yeah, Michael Gay, my address is 1925 Hazel Avenue Northeast, Salem, Oregon, 97301. Yeah, I think Bryce did a pretty decent job of describing the mechanic of working with state and local governments to tackle challenging community problems. We've been working on this issue for a number of years, particularly around the group of folks typically identified as individuals with severe and persistent mental illness. These are individuals who historically would have been served by an Oregon State hospital, but for a whole host of reasons, there's not a lot of capacity there. So the legislature set aside some funding a number of years ago to help start up infrastructure that can help meet that need, create capacity to provide ongoing care, treatment, and rehabilitation for folks suffering from severe mental illness. So we've got a local coalition of folks that include the local hospital, the Oregon Health Plan representative in the area, county, city, police, folks of that nature to apply for this grant funding, which the state has awarded. So yeah, the plan is to open up this facility in 2025 that will have 16 beds available to provide care for folks who typically are on the street and cycling through emergency departments and jails and things of that nature for lack of better options and where they can receive care.
Thank you.
Sorry. I'm Brad Kilby. I'm with HHPR, 205 Southeast Spokane Street, Portland, Oregon, 7202. The only one other thing I wanted to talk about was the condition related to, I think it's condition 2, to the fence location. I'm not sure if more from our perspective, the timing issue. So you can see our site is actually, this is, we look at the site, but you can see that the homes above our property are up higher, but they also have already existing landscaping and things back there. Although there's some blackberry briars and things like that that are back there. We're fine with the condition. We just would like to have it either deferred or amended such that we're not having to build a fence where there's already fencing back there, or tear out people's landscaping to build our fence, which I guess we could move our fence over to that landscaping, but then it impedes potentially on our property and within the sewer line in the back of the property. So I think just our hope is that there could be an amendment to that condition saying that where there's already existing and solid fencing, that wouldn't necessarily have to put the fencing there. Fencing is for for obviously to screen, but these homes are much higher than our site if you were to actually go out there and look at it. So the homes will be able to look over a 6-foot fence, which is the code standard. But that landscaping, a lot of that is over 6 feet. And it's that, performs that function.
I ask you, so it looks like that, I'm gonna say it looks like blackberries.
Some of
Is
it,
that,
Yeah,
is that's on your property?
it's,
Or is that on the?
so I'll tell you that there's, people have encroached onto the property, so some of their fences are over. We didn't hear anything from the neighbors, and then also went to the neighborhood association. So we presented to them, but I imagine that if we were to go in there and start tearing out their landscaping, not the blackberries, like it's blackberries and there's not.
Yeah.
We'll get rid of those. and we'll
They'll
put
probably
fencing.
be happy to not to have them come
Yeah.
through their
Yeah, but-
fences.
Specifically, I guess it's the property on the far right, and then there's some on the left side, too, where those blackberries aren't as prevalent. That, I don't think approach on our property, but we wouldn't, that's gonna be allowed. There's a sewer line, which I should consider those outs. And that concludes the testimony. Here, the questions. We have our engineer, architect, and others.
So procedurally, this includes 2 requests to modify conditions that are
I
in
can
here.
speak to it. You want me to speak to it? So, in relation to condition 3, as I empathize with the applicant, technically under SRC 110.125, we should not be going through this process if the property is in violation. So it says that shall not knowingly develop, redeveloped for structures, land, any excavation grade, so anything that would permit that stuff if there's a violation of the UDC. So that was why we said that prior to issuance of development permits, that the Jersey Barrier staff felt that that was a low bar versus pulling up the asphalt. I guess the other option would be to permit the unauthorized parking lot. So if the goal is to continue the use of the parking lot, then permits can come in for the use to permit that parking lot. And we would go through that review separately, and then that would delay that condition if there was an adequate permit. But I don't think it changes staff's proposed condition on the application, since the permit would supersede that. So that's for that one. And then two, the way the condition is written is between the residential zone and the development. And so what the applicant had shown on the right-hand side of the screen, where there was like mature vegetation, I'm gonna show the screen, or try to, is a commercial piece of property. So that's not even where the condition would be applied to. So this piece of property here is a commercial piece of property, a lot of them are expanding onto that piece of property. So the fence wouldn't even be required here. It really starts right here and works its way down. If there is a 6-foot fence, there is a 6-foot fence. It doesn't matter who owns it. It doesn't matter if it's existing or not. There just needs to be a 6-foot fence, and that needs to be shown on the building permit prior to this issuance. Doesn't mean it has to be there at that time, right? It's part of the permitting process. So the permits would have to show that fence regardless of whose it is, and then it would be verified at.
So the condition, so you're saying that the city wouldn't want to waive the condition of having the fence there, but is willing to accept an existing 6-foot fence as opposed to having it constructed?
Yeah. We would just want a fence there, since it's related to the conditional use permit and it runs with the land. If someone tears down their fence, it would be this permit's responsibility to ensure that there's screening.
Pardon?
We can live with that.
Yeah.
I don't think we understood the extent of what the fancy.
Okay. So can you say again, so I understand the need to get this project going, but you were talking about maybe about the parking there, about permitting the parking separately. So is the issue the impact on what's the issue with putting the barriers in immediately?
There isn't an issue with putting the barriers in immediately. The applicants requested not to put them in immediately. It sounds like so that the neighboring property who's currently using it can continue to use it. I think staff's concern would be that it shouldn't be there.
So this is, yeah, okay, so it's strictly a concern about the impact on the adjacent business.
It sounds like they might have a private easement, which we don't generally review.
Is it okay to comment on that?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, our desire is really to be a good neighbor. Tracy and the bar, it's honestly, it's less about holding up these minutes. Tracy's been a champion for our project since day one in the neighborhood, and has been very kind to sit down with us on numerous occasions, look at our plans, provide meaningful input. She's our most immediate neighbor, and so while we desire to comply and bring up our county compliance, our only ask is to give us a little more time so the business owner can see alternatives. And I'm sure Tracy will comment more on that in public testimony, but that's really the spirit of our request.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, that's the only questions I have.
You have the sign up sheet right in front of you.
Yeah, so next we have people for public testimony. So I'll call these in the order that they appear here and ask if you're speaking for or against, because we'll take for testimony first. So the first is Tracy Story.
Well, I'm not against it. I'm just about, I don't know how to say for it. Okay, so I'm for it.
Okay, well, go ahead. So you're first on the list.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I wasn't sure how to answer that. I'm Tracy Story. My address is 375 Lancaster Drive, Southeast Salem, Oregon. And 517, I'm the owner of the Silver Dollar Tavern. And I purchased the property in March 2010. At that time, along with the purchase came the access and parking easement that was granted. And the lot was already there, whatever paving was already there. This has allowed the access for loading and unloading product for various vendors, as well as sanitation and recycling. It's pretty big. I don't know if it's better to, can we bring up the picture of the property? The little two in Marion County. Let's take a look. Yeah, so, and through these years, I've maintained that area by mowing the lawn and just picking up stuff and trying to keep the temporary shelters that have come up and the litter that's been there controlled. But due to the use of the area that I've had since 2010, when they posted that property for sale in 2019, I contacted the TMT Development to make an offer for the purchase of an area, not the entire 5-point-something acres, but less than an acre of land surrounding my property so that I could help take care of it and do what I need to do. In 2020, we agreed on a price and condition of the sale, signed the contract, and I funded the earnest money. And as part of the agreement, the seller was financed a lot line adjustment. And then we discovered that I was in the county and they were in the city, so we couldn't do a lot line adjustment. So my attorney prepared the necessary documents to annex me into the city. At that time, we started that process. COVID kind of shut things down a little bit. And so over some time, while things were tied up, I got notification that Bryce and Michael came forward and they were going to purchase the property. And in order for that property to be purchased, I had to relinquish my contract because it was void at that point. You know, so the area there at the back of my property where you see the parking is not, the parking isn't used as much as the large trucks that come in and deliver the product to the vendors, and the sanitation, the way the garbage is kept towards the back of my building. There. And Trailers Plus, which is the trailer company just directly east of me, their semi trucks that deliver their trailers to their company also use that area to park their trailers so they're not blocking Lancaster. That's the only way they can pull in and back in to deliver their product. Currently, the bar has 21,271 square feet of parking, which is about 40 stalls with 2 disabled. By putting the Jersey barriers there, I'm going to lose 17 parking spaces, as well as restricting access of all the vendors and sanitation that come to the building. So I understand the spirit of the request that we need to, for the parking lot to be permitted, as well as addressing stormwater, all items that I was aware need to be addressed once I was purchasing the property back in 2020 when we agreed, and I knew what I needed to do to get that up. But at that point, the contract was dismissed and I couldn't move forward. So we're just requesting time to come up with a solution that helps local business owners in addition to meeting the requirements proposed. And any solutions that are recommended. Oh, I just shut up. Wait.
6 o'clock.
Strong word.
You have to hit this one.
What?
The one inside. Which is weird because there's so many people.
Yeah, we think the
They got it
occupancy sensor.
everywhere. Sorry. Okay, sorry.
So use, so Olivia, I'm gonna ask you, you said that that parking that's not lawful parking. Is that because when it was constructed, a permit was required to construct it?
Yes.
Okay, because it's in the county and the county would have required a permit for the
No, so the property on the
Oh,
north
that's right,
is
it's,
in the city.
that's right, it's in the city, so.
Just that little square where the tavern is, so like
Oh,
this piece here is the only piece. So technically, some of her parking here is in the city.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, I don't know if I need to walk up there. I don't know whoever did that back in the day, or if we were all county and then stuff just slowly got annexed into the city, and then when it happened, they didn't force them to bring it up to compliance. That's the unfortunate part of, I guess, buying a piece of property, getting access to easements that. It's kind of thing. Oh, what's within 6 feet of my building? I mean, that's, I will have no room to, and if I had to. I don't even know if I could have delivery come to the front of the building actually, without wiping out quite a few parking spots that I have, because they have to turn around the semi trucks that are. Quite large. And sanitation has to back up and then go forward and lift your trash can, and I don't even know where they could. Even if I move the trash cans towards Lancaster, they still couldn't back up until Lancaster and lift the.
So, applicant, so, if I understand correctly here, one of the things that you're looking for having more time rather than closing off the parking right now is to give to give them an opportunity to see if they can find a way to be able to legally develop parking there.
Yeah, I would just say this, you know, as far as I know, it's a complaint-driven system for code enforcement in the city. I wasn't aware of the SRC that you mentioned on, but if that's been there prior to 2010 and her purchasing that property and it's been functioning that way, and nobody's filed a complaint, what's the difference in having it before issuing a permit and prior to final occupancy on our building to just place that? And we've got to close off the driveway to Lancaster. That's a condition of approval that's gonna happen.
Yeah, and that's within their jurisdiction.
Yeah, so
The city has no,
we're just asking for time to, there's a couple of things that are gonna happen if you think about it from a business owner's perspective. Those folks that are currently parking there, that come there, maybe are regulars, need time to figure out that that's no longer gonna be happening. And I'm not sure, like, that's just something that, I'm sorry, Tracy will have to deal with. But ultimately, these guys at Community First Solutions have to work on the other side with the state on that covenant to see if there's a way that they can release that portion of the property, at which point they would be open to negotiating a lot line adjustment or a partition that would then create that lot. Then she could come in and develop that lot. So I guess in our position is that this is an issue of timing. It's not that they don't want to comply, but the fact that it hasn't been in compliance since at least the last 13 years. What is the rush to do this now? Other than I understand, I've worked in public and on the public side, and I understand that that's how when you get an opportunity to start closing out violations on a property, especially when a development comes in, that's what you want to do. So, I mean, like, I understand both sides of the argument, but I also think that I could sympathize with the business owner in this regard.
is there anything that prevents you from petitioning off that piece right now?
It's the covenant that runs with the property.
Oh, so you've already recorded that covenant?
Well,
Yeah.
they've got funding from the state.
Right,
And when they got that funding, they had to put a covenant on it.
okay, so the covenant
Yeah,
is already in place, okay.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, because traditional development, you'd just be doing cartwheels to annex that.
Yeah, so you'd have to get the state to release that covenant. That's correct, I understand.
Correct.
So is there a process for a temporary parking lot, for temporary parking?
There's a process for a commercial parking lot. You have to charge. Temporary uses does not include a parking lot. The only thing I could think of creatively would be potentially if the property, the barn property, and that property could be considered a development site, but again, they would have to come in for permits for that new parking lot, which I think is pretty much what I stated before, that we wouldn't require the Jersey barrier if there was permits submitted to legalize the parking lot. I understand it's been there for a very long time. Staffs moved forward with this development. The conditional use permit is a development permit to try to expedite things for the applicant in lieu of this. So generally, we wouldn't have even moved forward with a development permit. If there's a violation on property right, we would have either addressed it as this or done it before we didn't deem the application complete. I'm not 100% sure how it works with being in the county and outside of the and in the city and outside of the city. If she was annexed, it'd be very clear cut that we could consider it a development site. The issue I see is the new state laws around CFAC and max parking. I would venture to guess she already it's already exceeding max parking. And so how that would play into whatever permitting process we move forward on. So it's hard to give a path forward, besides saying it would need to go through permit, would need to go meet the UDC. The planning administrator just told me that it probably wouldn't be a development site if it was in and out of the city. So it would be impractical for us to apply two different zoning standards. And then the parking outside would be the one that exceeds the max parking, right? So then we would be not in compliance with the new CFAC rules. A difficult situation.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Stewart. So now we have Sis Win.
Oh, actually, we have come wrong meeting.
Oh, really?
Just ignore that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because like we are coming for a petition for reducing the property tax.
Oh,
But we
okay.
received the letter, we thought like, that's the same one, but it's not.
Oh.
But I will contact later.
Okay, and then I have Bryce Peterson, but actually you're the applicant, so.
I apologize.
So you're probably, I would say that you're probably in favor. Yeah.
Very much so.
You can also.
Yeah, okay. So we have, thank you, Hillary. So then we have Brad Kilby. Okay. Right, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. or I would have done that. Okay. And then finally, we have Jill Arnold.
I've never met them.
Okay. Okay, well, that's everyone who's signed up for public comment. So,
I'll generally ask the room if there's anyone who didn't sign up though.
right. So is there anyone else that wishes to offer testimony? Okay, if there's not applicant, do you want to offer? Well, there's no speaking in opposition, so there's no rebuttal opportunity. So does anyone wish to offer additional testimony that wish to leave the record open for any reason? Okay, then. Well, at that point, then I will now close the hearing. And the record will be closed at the close of the hearing. And I will issue a written decision, which we mail to the applicant and to the other interested parties. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.